So our research itself showed that self-service was clearly still reigning supreme there with nearly 38% of all votes. Why do you think that is?
Well, first of all, I love the research because it talks about the investment companies make. I do research on what consumers think
Mm,
about the investments companies make. And self-service is the quick way to get the answers that you want. And more consumers, especially younger consumers, when I say younger, I'm going to say there's probably an age divide. It's Gen Z, millennials, maybe the young Gen X.
mm,
They are driving the need to create an experience where I can get the information quickly. What did surprise me, I know later on we're going to talk about chatbots. To me, chatbots belong in the self-service category, but you split them out for the investment that they're making. But self-service comes in many different forms. It could be something as simple as a frequently asked question
mm.
page or two, or a site on your website that allows people to just type in a question and get articles and answers. It could be YouTube videos that are actually on social media, but might be embedded in the company site, which I think is a great idea because I remember with the client that I was working with, I asked them, how good is your service? How long does it take to respond? And they said, you don't even need to call us. Just Google the question. How do you do blank with this company software? And all these videos came up. And what was beautiful about that is not only did it help the customer self-service, but it was also a great marketing technique to be optimized for people who are looking for anything related to it, even if they're not using the software. So I love different versions of self-service. Customers are leaning toward that. And I always ask my clients a question. Think of your customer. Would they rather wait on hold for 5 or 10 minutes or perhaps longer to
Mm.
get an answer or get it right away?
And I think you're right, though. You talked about the instant gratification in your expert analysis of our research, and I think you're right there. I think more and more these days, people's attention spans are getting a bit shorter. They want perfection. Those key examples where someone's done it well resonate with them, and that's the bar that gets set. I also think one of the things you mentioned there about self-service, you mentioned chatbots, and I know we'll get into that in a moment as well,
Yep.
but I do think you've raised a really interesting point there, whereby self-service is really efficient as as an investment tool in your organization because those things you're doing for self-service will be fed into everything else if you're doing it.
Right. And you should realize the demand for self-service is there. In our consumer research, 34% of customers said, even though the majority of people prefer the phone,
Mm.
34% said that if you don't offer me self-service options, I'm going to go find a company that does because I want a company that has the balance of the two.
Yeah.
That's what they're saying. 7 out of 10 customers prefer the phone as a first line of communication. However, as I mentioned, 34% say you still have to offer me those options. Because if it is an easy question, I want to be able to get it done quickly. Did my order get shipped? Where is my order? Did my payment go through? What's my bank balance? I just log in. And how about even the dentist office
Mm.
or the doctor's office that says, hey, you are now in our system, set up a password and come in and you can, make appointments. You don't have to call, be put on hold by the receptionist, be interrupted by people who are in the waiting room. You get it done so efficiently. Customers are loving this.
Well, I think it comes back to, again, it's an age-old adage there, but delivering value on the channels that your customers want to prioritize, right? And you mentioned it yourself in your analysis of our research. It varies by demographic as well. You've got some of the younger generation being a little bit
Yep.
more tech familiar with some of these things, opting to go for self-service first. On the flip side of that, you've got some of the older generations that want to go down voice. Like I say, it just comes down to prioritizing, I think.
Yep. 88% of baby boomers, your older customers,
Mm.
prefer the phone. 88% versus 51% of Gen Z.
Mm. Well, I'll tell you
Big
what,
difference.
well, massive difference. But how do you see, as that demographic sort of ages out and then the younger demographic ages in, especially with their economic impacts, how do you see that changing over the next few years?
Well, we need to be very aware that, by the way, Gen Z will always be Gen Z. 30 years from now, they're still Gen Zs. You can't refer to them as the young generation anymore. And companies need to do a couple of things. They need to, number one, recognize who their customers are today and cater to those customers' needs and expectations. Number two, realize these customers are going to grow and you're going to ideally decide one of two things as a brand. Am I going to grow with the customer and keep the customer for their lifetime? Or is it time to let them go and focus on the demographic that we focus on? There's retail clothing stores, for example, that once you hit a certain age, you're not going to go shop there anymore. They don't try to keep you for the next 30 or 40 years. No, their focus is on that whatever age group that they're focused on. We need to think that way when it comes to the service and support experience as well. What do our current customers want? So demographically, depending on the kind of company you are, you may not even care about an older generation or a younger generation. It's your choice based on who your customer is. But realize for those that are catering to a wider audience, you need to have this information. You need to know it. And by the way, the self-service tools like videos and frequently asked questions, the investment is virtually nothing. It's taking the time to put it together. Yes, time is money, as opposed to buying a technology or setting up the right system with chatbot and automation and that type of thing. Those are more expensive. And when you approach a leader and you say, I want to use these, I want to invest in these, you better have the ROI ahead of time. Here's what our numbers are and here's what we project. I know part of what we are going to talk about is efficiency and productivity. Those tools, if you can prove to me they're going to save us money and allow our people to do more, maybe for the same amount of money, I'm totally happy with that as a leader.
I appreciate you segueing that back round to the discussion on ROI as well. So very easy to interview here, Shep. I do appreciate it.
Thank you.
So let's talk then about what the rest of the research highlighted. We've obviously talked about self-service already, but we had the growing importance of personalization coming in
Yes.
second in our research. That's no surprise, really, when you consider what tech vendors have been talking about in the veil of AI for the last, let's say, couple of years at this point, when we're going down into the hyper-personalization you can do now. As much as you and I could talk about that, there's a lot of resources out there, but we'll discuss that at length. Whilst I've got you, for the limited time I've got left with you, I want to discuss chatbots then.
Okay.
So they came in quite low in our research in terms of end users maximizing ROI on that. Why do you think that is? You've touched on it a little bit.
I was very surprised the investment is low. I believe there's two reasons. Number one, companies have already invested in a technology that is a chatbot. The problem is if they haven't recently invested, they're dealing with old technology, which is really not meeting the bar that the customer is set, because the customer no longer compares you to a direct competitor. They're comparing you to the best experience they've had from any company. So if the most recent company they've reached out to and gone back and forth with the chatbot was new large language model, high level chat GPT type of technology that understands me and even talks to me like it's a human, not a robotic voice, that's my new benchmark for what's great. And companies say, well, we invested in this just 3 years ago. Well, 3 years ago, it's antique, basically, compared to now. So one of the things I will suggest when you make the investment into any technology, make sure the technology has room to grow with improvements and upgrades. And then you won't be stuck with old technology. I'm surprised. I believe the stat I recently saw was about 40 some odd percent are still using non-cloud resources for customer support. And what are they, just stacking old equipment on top of old equipment? It's, somebody referred to that as the Frankenstack. It's trying to piece together tech. And here's the thing. People think, companies think, leaders think, we have to get our investment back. Think about the money you might be losing from the customers who walk on you because you didn't make the right investment. It's like training the front line. Well, we don't like to train them because they don't stick around very long. Well, how many customers are you losing as a result of bad employees? It's the same thing with bad technology.
But I think you said it earlier about going into battle when you're making these decisions and when you're pitching these decisions to senior leadership. It's all about having the data ready to prove the ROI up front.
Yep.
I think ultimately, when you look at data like this, I think it comes down to, and again, this is not a new concept here. We've been talking about this for years now, is almost turning your contact center into a data hub. Use the data you have available to you and make that decision, translate it into real pounds, real dollars to senior leadership. And that's
Yep.
when you can maximize your ROI.
And the cost today to get to an efficient chat GPT type of product is very low. Now, when you start to throw in data mining for personalization, maybe productivity tools and efficiency tools, granted, a straight up online chat experience is going to be great for the customer. It's going to make your people efficient. Using that to support agents as well is an efficient tool. Allowing everybody to get more done with, in less time, which when we're talking to clients, most of them are not letting their customer support people go in lieu of this chat technology. And the result of that, I believe, is because companies continue to grow. They just don't hire as many people
Hmm.
as they've used to. But once in a while, you have a company that says, we're going all in on digital. We're going all in on large language models. We're going all in on that chat product. Big mistake. I still think consumers are still asking for both sides. We haven't yet cracked the code on perfection. One of the things that also turns a lot of people off is they claim, and by the way, 51% of the consumers we interviewed said, yeah, I've received bad information from a chatbot. Leaders are afraid these chatbot technologies are going to give bad information. So I wonder, how many times have we ever gotten bad information from a human? Like all the time. So it doesn't matter.